Okay, we'll open the May 5th Select Board meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okie dokie. So, you got, Tony's supposed to be sitting there. Do you have
Manifests.
manifests?
You want us to all shift down one?
No. May, June 5th. Accounts payable, June 5th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the accounts payable dated
June 5th.
June 5th and
Oh. Payroll, June 6th.
I'm not seeing payroll.
We have 2 accounts payable.
Yep.
June 6th, what's, 5th, what's the date on that one? June 6th. Is the cover sheet just wrong? No?
No, it is accounts payable, but let me see if there's,
Was this the second one?
Oh, there was a supplementary one.
There was a
There was
second
a single transaction one that came after,
Yep.
right? That's
So
what.
there's no,
there's no payroll.
there's no payroll here.
Correct.
Okay.
So, let me change my motion, modify
Yep.
my motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the accounts payable dated June, oh, they're both dated June 5th.
No, one's June 5th and one's June 6th, right?
Nope. June 5th, June
Okay,
5th.
sorry.
1/5 and 1/6.
June 5th.
Yeah.
They're both June 5th.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Sorry that.
You want to revisit that motion? Ay, ay, ay. All right, minutes. Don, did you get feedback from everyone on the, sorry, Chris, 522 minutes?
I don't remember Shirley getting an answer from you, but it's possible. Did you have any changes?
I wasn't there, so
Okay.
that's why I didn't.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
I'd make a motion then to approve the minutes of Monday, May 22nd as
Amended.
amended.
Second.
All in favor? Abstain?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Reports from assigned boards and committees. So there was planning, right?
So there was planning and
Tony went.
Tony went, thank you.
Okay.
They talked about impact fees. They're voting on impact fees next Wednesday, and next Wednesday I will not be able to attend that meeting either, so if you can make next
I
Wednesday.
think we can.
Okay. I don't think there was any cases.
Okay. All right, and then budget committee, I'm presuming, still hasn't met. And that's all of our boards and committees at this point in time. So we'll hand it over to you, Chris.
All right. The beach is open if you want to go swimming.
Woo-hoo.
I don't know if anybody's been there yet.
Gotta wear your long underwear, but you're welcome
Yeah.
to it, right?
The security cameras that we had planned and put in the budget for this year have been installed, so we now have security cameras upgraded, set up in the PD, as well as the 2 counters in the offices down the hall here, and the the hallway and the lobby.
Nice.
So we've got a pretty good, and we have one along the back wall here,
Yeah.
so we can pretty well see every coming and going to the business parts of the building.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah, good.
seems to be running smoothly. The fence is up, went up today on the building on Route 4 that
Yep.
we didn't want to take down.
Yep.
Charlene and I are meeting Wednesday and Friday with 4 different firms that responded to our RFQ for environmental services over at Route 4. We picked 4 out of 6 or 7 that
Yeah.
were worth talking to, we thought.
Yeah.
I think it was 7
I think so.
responses. If any of you want to jump into that, let me know. I'll send you the times and where we are. We talked a couple months ago about the Rockingham County changing their fiscal year. The commissioners have invited us to a meeting at the end of the month. I'll go. If you want to go, let me know and I'll send you the information. It sounds like they're on a relatively sane path, but they're just communicating with all the towns.
Is it an input meeting or just a communication?
Uh,
Here's what we're doing meeting?
I don't know. I don't imagine they'd call us all together and not let us say something.
Okay.
But I've never seen them do something like this, so I don't know.
Okay.
They have plenty of public meetings, but they don't have
Yep.
carve-out meetings like this that I've seen before, so. They're listening anyway, that's a good sign.
Yep.
I sent you a note on the overlay bids and whatnot. It's on the agenda, but I don't really need anything from you if you don't have any questions or concerns about it. It's, we're going with the low bidder, and the work plan is pretty straightforward. We may be able to stretch it out, depending on a few variables that we still don't know yet. We may be able to add a little bit. John doesn't know yet what he would do. If we did have a little bit of wiggle room there at the end, I bet it would be something nearby to one of these. That's typically the cost-effective way to do it. But as we see that, I'll let you know. This is kind of a spattering of projects in a lot of different parts of town. Do you think just a general note, website kind of note is sufficient to let people know what's coming, or do you want to be a little bit more aggressive than that? Or overlay is usually kind of an in and out in a day or two kind of
Have we ever
process.
even
but-
communicated?
I don't think we've ever communicated, but I think it wouldn't hurt to put something up on the
Okay, that's
web.
sufficient.
Yeah,
web
I think
and
so.
If you can, through the cable.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, web cable, I think that's fine.
Okay. And then the last thing, you're scheduled to meet on July 3rd, Monday, July 3rd. It's a holiday for many. You don't have to decide now, but if you want to move that or scrap it, I don't have anything penciled in for you, but just put that on your radar as a,
I mean, my preference at this point in time would be to either scrap or move rather than meet. Because I'm gonna be making that a long
is that
weekend.
when's the boat parade?
On the 4th.
That's on the floor.
On the 4th itself? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But I'm planning on taking a long weekend, so.
I would agree. Scrap or move.
I'd assume just meet. Whatever everyone wants.
Well, you get Charlie and Tony to agree. You guys can-
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever we do, fine.
Okay. Yeah, we can make that decision in a
Yes,
couple
we get
weeks if
close
you
to see
want.
if there's anything that needs to be discussed. Will you whack him?
And that is all I have at this point.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions for Chris in the general category?
Revision, energy.
We got the fire station lease agreement back, and I'm looking that over now. I haven't sent it to the attorney yet because I have a couple of things that I want to get straight first. One of my initial concerns is and this may not be a worry yet, but just to so it's not a surprise if it does become something. The authorization that we have is to lease property. That was what we said, okay, let's dumb this down. Get town meeting to give the select board permission to lease property. And to get something that complies with that, we need language in the contract that allows us to get out of it, because you can't commit the town to 5, 20, 50 years of an expense. That language looks like it might get a little tricky. I think we can probably get something that's legal, but it really isn't going to be that flexible. So we can meet the legal test, but we may not be able to meet the rational test. I don't know. So that's one of my worries. And the other thing that jumped out at me in my first pass with it was it looks like they want to take trees down around the fire station, which was not part of the original, testing they did over there.
That's it, yeah.
And I don't know if they're just humongous pine trees that are all over the place over there.
Yeah.
The tall ones are blocking the sun from that.
Yeah,
ray, so-
south side and west side. I can't identify any, site-specific concerns about keeping the trees there, but, I haven't talked with the chief about that piece, and who's gonna pay for that? That hasn't, that could be a big number, moving half a dozen big pine trees turns into a big number when they're real big. So those are just the first two things that jumped out at me, so that's where we are with that.
Can you just, I'm sorry, can you just back up and explain the lease thing, lease part of it again?
Yeah, so we could have gone to town meeting and said, town meeting, give us permission to enter a 20, 30-year purchase agreement and lease. That would have required town meeting to vote by 3/5 or 2/3.
Okay.
And we said, we don't think we need to do that. We can just do a lease and give ourselves an escape in the purchase contract. And that's the escape lets us, which we do that kind of, it's called non-appropriation language. We do that with other things where we enter into agreements, you enter into agreements that are longer than the budget year. But as long as we say we can get out of it, then it's not really a firm commitment for us. So with the solar one, we said, we were all worried about, can we get this approved? If we dumb it down to just being a lease, we only need a simple majority vote at town meeting. And it gets a lot simpler to explain it.
Yep.
We went back and forth about how do we present this in a way that
Right.
looks rational. So we took the multi-year commitment out of the town meeting vote just to give you the authorization to enter a lease. And how we structure that, the seller, the financiers are going to want some pretty firm commitment in order to invest all this money. They want to make sure they're going to get it back.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we want to be able to get out of it.
Right.
What that's going to cost us and what that would look like, it's going to be tricky with the language, I think.
Okay.
So that's just the first thing that jumped off the.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's where that sits.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris on any of the stuff that's not on the agenda? Okay.
I had a couple of additional road, after that road meeting we had. Of course, there was only, majority was from like just 2 roads.
Right.
In town.
Yep.
And when we start putting this together, possibly a priority list or whatever it may be, there's plenty of other roads. I hope they will, in fact, there's very many, Priest, Berry, Guile, Kennett, Haynes Road are just the ones that came off the top of my head. So whenever we start planning that,
So it's not a discussion about, do we take care of those 2 roads? It's a discussion about what all needs to be done and what's the priority.
true, and that's, it's gonna take some review of all these roads to
Yep.
see who's in the most urgent need, and then coming up with a priority list. That's not gonna be easy,
Yep,
but
yep. Yeah,
And the thing is too, this is gonna take a number of years to complete.
yep.
Yeah, we're going back and forth with a contract on the counting. Remember, we were gonna,
Yeah.
counting locations.
Yep.
Dirk called and suggested that we add some mechanical counts on Francesca and, what's the other one that comes off?
Taylor?
Does Michaela come down to Poor Farm?
Yes.
Over there, parallel? So I'm waiting to hear if we can do that for short money at the same time, because that, Dirk pointed out, we really don't get a full picture unless you get those two as well. That's kind of the target area that we were working on, so.
Yeah.
Right there at that intersection.
That, we haven't signed on the dotted line there yet, but we're close on that,
Okay.
so, moving forward on that.
But we're still looking at fall.
Yeah, the other than that, the list hasn't changed, and it's other gravel, not everything you just listed, but, Stevens Hill, Mitchell.
Wait, you're talking about doing counts on those two?
Yeah, those are the ones that,
was
the
like
same list I already
4
sent
or
you.
5.
Yeah,
I think I emailed you back, did we want to do Cooper Hill, or are we pretty positive that that's a
isn't it?
big cut?
I think Cooper Hill came back on the list.
Yeah, okay.
I am pretty confident
That's a pretty,
Just a
well,
very short
that,
span.
that one's good, but just to get a pure
yeah,
picture,
number.
we're gonna we'll do Cooper Hill as well in this round, this summer's counts. What else was on that list? I think Case might have been there. Yeah, Case is there to see if we can get a baseline on Maple Ridge.
The new development, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know what we know the first third of Maple Ridge is in. The second third is coming, and that dumps into Mitchell, and what that's gonna do to Mitchell in Case, we don't know, so we're looking
Yeah.
for a baseline on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah, that's good to have a baseline.
Yeah.
All right, does that transition to our road agent transitioning planning
Sure.
discussion?
So we left off with, after a little discussion about what we might want the job to look like, and the possibility of making room to hire two, essentially.
Yep, yep.
And what I sent you is a little tweak to the original job description for road agent and highway director. And a guess at what that second job would look like and what it would cost. And to the best I could find in terms of salary comps for the road agent director position. What we really need to accomplish in the short time frame is to agree to the job description and the posting and decide what kind of process you want to use for interviewing, because we're looking at a July time frame for
Yep.
interviews, so.
So you've got the salary in here for the heavy equipment operator.
Yeah, and this is a real kind of
Yeah, yeah, no,
spitball
no,
number,
I
but,
understand,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
overtime really makes that tricky with plowing and stuff. It's hard to, too hard a number there.
I'm sorry, what's NEEX?
Non-exempt and exempt. The exempt is salaried.
Yeah.
Non-exempt is
Yep.
hourly.
Yep. And these are people, these examples that you're showing us, are they more in line, I'm sorry, but those with the, yeah, never mind, they're for the director, road agent
Yeah, this,
comparison.
this is all from the NHMA salary survey. They give you a job description and you pigeonhole your people into the
Yeah, yeah.
various things, so. To look at that list, when you start looking at Milford, Peterborough, Durham, obviously, those are
Yeah.
different animals. They're,
Yep.
those might be highway exclusive jobs, not public works jobs, but they have, you know, downtown operations, sidewalks, all those kinds of things that.
Stafford down the bottom.
Wow. Yeah, most of the roads are state roads. You're saying Stratford looks pretty high.
Oh, Stratford?
Is it Stratford? Is that up north then? It's not Stratford.
It's, no, there is a Stratford.
Stratford is just below Colebrook on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, okay. You said-
Okay, but still, that looks awful high.
Boy.
Yeah, and that could be, you know, that same guy could also be the welfare director and 6 other jobs in a town like that, you know, who knows?
I thought it was Stratford, all right.
So what we've got here is, what you've done here is you've kind of laid out what the differences would be between a director road agent and a heavy equipment operator driver, and then prepared a job description for just the director road agent,
Yes.
right? So that now reflects, does that take out some of the, what would fall to the driver operator?
No, it's,
Or is it still?
really, the only changes really are emphasis.
Yeah.
The prior job description was very heavy on, hands-on.
Yep.
And I think we still want somebody that's gonna do some of that. I think that's an important part of this job. We don't have enough people that you.
Johnny did more grunt work than he should have been doing.
Well, yeah, he does a lot of hands-on stuff. Hands on a shovel or hands on the wheel, whatever it is, it's, and that's the piece that is easiest to carve out of a job. If you need to make the job smaller, that is a good way to do it. So, I think we need to hire somebody that's capable of doing it, was willing to do it and jump in and do it when it's necessary, but it's not ideally how they spend most of their time.
But before we start interviewing, the interview process, we, as a board, have to be committed to, if it's the direction that we want to go to in terms of, you know, having a director level and then a operator level, right?
Yeah, I think it's important that we tell whoever comes in what they're gonna be working with, and if that means we've got 2 guys and a cast of characters that you can put together, or if it means we have 3 people and a cast of characters that you can put together,
Yeah.
it's a different,
Sure.
it's a different job,
Yeah.
so.
But it changes the nature of the interviews, right? If we're saying, okay, we're definitely want a director, road agent level person, and then we're gonna deal with the operator in a different way.
Yeah, and is the director not also gonna be overseeing the recycle center?
No, we have not gone down that road, wrong choice of words, we haven't gone down that road. No, we didn't talk too much about that in detail. I think I've had one-on-one conversations with a couple of you about it.
Under this description, is this the description that municipal gave you?
It's a hodgepodge of some of that.
Because it's more public, it's called road agent, but it's really public works.
In a lot of ways it is, yeah. The reason that you would, the primary reason that you would do that would be to hopefully get some efficiencies around frontline staff people. You know, you get people you can use in multiple roles, and you know, when you need them here, you use them here. When you need them there, you use them there. That's the best benefit of that. I don't think that works for us because the two biggest reasons are we probably don't want to close the recycling center when we're plowing. You know, if you want to mingle people together like that, I don't think that would go over well in town. You could tell me otherwise, but and the second thing is you need to have people that are qualified to run heavy equipment or drive trucks. But for most of the year, you'd be using them to do work that doesn't require that skill. So you'd be paying them more than you'd need to year round. So I don't think there's a lot of frontline efficiency in it. You'd get some more oversight. You know, you'd spread some more management attention
I mean,
around.
part of me is thinking that would be some of the benefit is you'd have someone kind of looking at it in a more, you know, in a budgetary way, in a you know, management, you know, capacity, because you're not out there being able to do that, you know. And I'm just thinking that would be, I think that, I don't know, I think it could be beneficial, but
Does that
I
then
don't know what other folks think. but-
spread that person too thin?
Yeah, and I don't know.
Depends on how hands-on and you want them to be, and, you know, I think the work that we do, you need somebody more or less on site to be directing things, that's got the technical know-how. You can give some direction and then take off and come back, but you really need to be around a lot of, you know, the little fix-up projects and things that we're doing on our roads. You need somebody that is skilled in that regard. And our frontline guys are certainly experienced and have some skills, but if somebody's gonna be responsible for it, they're gonna need to be there. So I think that may spread a little bit. You know, a Thursday
Yeah.
through Saturday operation versus a Monday through Friday operation, and
Yeah.
it's not without its merits, but it's
What do you think about that, Charlie?
Pardon me?
What do you think about that?
As far as using the extra guys at the recycling center?
Well, the idea of having one public works person who acts as both the highway department, road agent, and has responsibility for overseeing the recycling center too.
That is gonna be a touchy subject. I'm not sure. You may make recommendations that this will happen as things go along, if things work out right. But you just do this right off the bat, I don't think I'd go for it that way. Probably the new person is gonna have to get, you know, their feet wet a little bit. I guess, you know, making inquiries up there.
Yep.
And in talking to those guys, can they make that a better, easier operation for the existing people at the recycling center?
Yeah.
maybe something that
Unfortunately,
evolves
it's
rather
one
than
of those-
something.
Yeah.
Now, each department still has its own, you know, little domain that you have to be careful how you enter that. Yeah.
So it could be something that evolves, rather
Yeah.
than saying up front, this is what we're gonna do, but if we have the right individual in the position and it makes sense,
Yeah,
and they're, you know, amenable to doing that, then.
Yeah, I honestly, other than the maintenance around the yard and stuff, I'm not sure that some of the other stuff would actually fit in unless we had like a public works director that took care of all that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you need from us, Chris? Do you need the blessing on this approach and the job description in order to,
Yeah, I
Start
think that's, to post it, we need to have some consensus around what that job looks like, and that,
yep. So this job description that you've given us here reflects that. And we went through this last time, right?
yeah, this is the second version of it you've seen.
So
As I said.
Charlene, I don't know if you've actually had a chance to go through all of this.
No, but I think if you guys have, then that's fine.
Okay.
I'm wondering, I'm trying to get my head around how much more this is gonna cost us.
Well, right now, we're just talking about the road agent, right, for the,
Well, I mean, if we go 2 positions, what are we looking at the bottom line? What's the,
Well, if you, I think it's the second page to you.
Got the numbers on the bottom of the second page.
yeah, that's
That's-
one position.
That's one piece of it.
The other one will be comparable or a little bit more to what we have now.
Yeah, it's gonna be in the same neighborhood, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know, it's a hard market to know from the outside, but,
Right.
yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, the thinking is we're not gonna get another Johnny.
Yeah, I know, and we knew that this day would come and that it was gonna impact the bottom line pretty heavily.
Yep,
Because
Yeah.
he just does things because he's Johnny,
yep.
and that's who he is. Do we have to, because we'd be adding a position, would we have to go to town meeting for one of these?
no, and our intention is not to open it up right away, is to let the new person
yeah.
Come
Get
in
in with
first
their-
and then hire that
And
second
then, yeah, let
person?
them decide what that job looks like. So this is me
Yeah.
guessing what they would,
I understand that.
would do, so it's probably, you know, it's very late in this calendar year, early in next, you know, get somebody for plow season would be great. But
Yeah.
if you really want the new person to come in around September 1st, when are they gonna be ready to be making those kind of decisions,
Yeah,
you know?
after the first of the year.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, one of the things we may ask them for is, an assessment
Right,
of what we have,
yeah.
for resources, and is there a way we could be using resources more effectively?
Yep. Yeah, maybe there's a different mix of,
Yeah.
contracted labor or contracted services or whatever
Yep.
that somebody can bring to our eyes that we
Yeah.
haven't thought of yet.
Yeah,
But I think we would enter the budget season anticipating that, a second position in this neighborhood that I've
Yeah.
outlined here,
yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. All right, do you need a motion, or you just
No,
need a?
no,
Is everybody okay with Chris going forward with this job?
He can post this job, and then we can decide salary ranges?
yeah, we'll do
Yeah,
that later.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, yep. Okay, anything else on that, you guys?
You want to talk in a couple of weeks about who's in on the interviews or what you want to do there? You don't have to decide that now, but,
Yep,
okay.
yep. All right, it's 7 o'clock, and we have Mr. Murdoch here for your 7 PM appointment. Come on down. Yes, please. For Dawn's benefit and the audience benefit, could you just say your name?
Jeff Murdoch.
What can we do for you?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I drove past the town hall and I saw a sign out front that said Women's Vendor Fair. And obviously, the sign says everything I need to know. It was a vendor fair, which means that it's an economic opportunity of one sort or another, where people are buying and selling stuff. And it was a women's vendor fair. And I'm really sorry to see that I have to come in, or somebody has to come in and point out to you people that there's something wrong with the town having economic events that are reserved for one group or another group. I've heard plenty of times that people don't think it's discrimination if it's discrimination against men. But it shouldn't have to be pointed out to you that there's just something wrong with this. You could have just had a vendor fair, a town vendor fair, instead of a women's vendor fair. And if I explain to you what's wrong with that. So what I really wanted to know, and and did any of you express opposition to this?
It's the second or third, not an annual.
Recreation sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
Why was the sign out front that said women?
So what I was referring to was Nottingham Day and the opportunities to have tables and booths and stuff up at Nottingham Day. Listen, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you personally. I'll let the other members of the board speak for themselves. I think what the Recreation Department tries to do is to, a lot of people come with ideas and they, try to help support and enable those ideas. I think if someone, if you went in and said, hey, I really want to be a part of this, I don't believe you would have gotten turned away. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if anybody else had expressed an interest in being part of that, they would have. And it's products that are targeting for women, correct?
Yeah, just generalize, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And the vendors happen to all be women, but they're all home-based businesses,
Yeah.
local businesses,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The vendors were all women. Right.
Yeah, but as I said.
Nobody would have been excluded if they showed up,
Exactly.
man or woman. It's gonna have a men's vendor fair, I believe, in the fall, there's one planned.
And that's
Any
gonna be,
recreation.
so what is the exclusion that's going on here? Is it that it was products for women, or is it that it was vendors that were women?
There's no exclusion as much as it is just a focus or an emphasis. It's a marketing thing. It's not an exclusion. Like we have a senior luncheon. It's targeted at seniors, but anybody can come.
Why don't you just call it a luncheon then?
Because we want the seniors, we go out of our way to make the seniors feel welcome and that it's, that their peers will be there and that they will get some added benefit from being in an event that has other people like them, similar interests or whatever.
Okay, well, what I'm pointing out to you is this whole demographic segregation is wrong. Just have a fair. Just have a yoga class, not a kids yoga class, not a senior yoga class, I don't want to be in the embarrassing position of having to ask when the Nottingham, white male heterosexual day is going to be. I mean, I think it's wrong for the town to segregate town events according to some demographic parameter, if they have economic significance, which a vendor fair would have, and maybe a yoga course would not. And all I see is blank faces, and nobody agrees with me. I can't help you on this. This is really obvious, and it's basically a constitutional issue.
Well, I think what we can do is just make sure that, talk to the Recreation Department and whoever is, organizing the event next year, and make sure that it should be made known that, anyone who wants to come or anyone who wants to, have a table is welcome.
So how about if you just call it a vendor fair?
We'll talk to the Recreation Department and the people who are responsible in organizing it. We'll share your concern with them, and then,
All right, and am I
So what
correct
makes
that none of you opposed this before the event?
I did not oppose it.
Wasn't something that came to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a concern about your last sentence felt you had to put up there. Let me be very clear that I do not say the Pledge of Allegiance for exactly the same reasons. Why did you add that in there?
Because I think we probably say the Pledge of Allegiance, we got a big piece of cloth right there. And I have,
Millions of men and women have served in this country's military. Thousands, tens of thousands have died defending that flag and giving you the right not to say the pledge. But personally, I'm a combat veteran, and I really get my dander up when somebody says something as stupid as that.
Well, I get my dander up whenever I see anti-male discrimination.
Every time you open your mouth, your dander's up.
This,
I've known you for over 30 years, Jeff,
Only
and
if-
you've always been fairly eccentric. Well, this goes way beyond that.
this country has practiced affirmative action at the national level, at the state level. There's been every kind of anti-male legislation. I actually had the experience of some woman that I hardly even knew get a restraining order against me because it's that easy to do. Any level of government that I look at in this country, I just see a consistent effort to advance women and to disempower men. And that has changed my feelings about this country in a big, big way.
Well,
When
I
I
mean-
was young, I was an Eagle Scout. But as soon as I heard the words affirmative action, I changed about a lot of things. And I'm disturbed to see that this has come to just looking at me like I'm crazy.
Women have been, I mean, for years, just as the blacks were or whatever, been treated unfairly. I think everybody would probably agree on that. Maybe you don't, but if you haven't seen, I mean,
If
what's
you really
happened-
want that general a discussion, no, I don't. I think women have gotten the easy end of the deal all the way through. They're had the birth control pill come out before they would join the workforce, and that's been the big social change. But no, I don't think anybody was ever mean to women. I think men have been, in general, really, really nice to women, all through history.
But I mean, women were, I mean, before, when I was a kid, I mean, my mother was home, she was, you know, so, and a lot of moms were, well, today, people can't afford that. Both people gotta work to make it in this world, so I don't understand it. I mean, but I have no issue with a woman. And again, it's all about, hey, if I went to something, you know, I might say, hey, Charlie, wanna go to the, you know, the guys' night, over there and have a couple beers or whatever, that's our prerogative, we do it, you know, not, I don't understand it. I mean, to sit here and basically, I think what you're publicly doing is putting down women. I mean, I don't like it as a town resident, and I certainly don't like it as on a select board member here. I mean, I don't think it's right, and, you know, again, like Charlie said, that flag right there lets it, so everybody they can feel, they can say whatever they want, but we don't have to agree on it. But again, you're here, you're getting to say your piece or whatever, so I feel it's right that we all say our part too, is I think you're dead wrong, and I, as a board member, would say, I would hope that would be a women's fair again next year. If the men want one, or we want a town vendor fair, the recreation department's always looking for suggestions on what to do. So if you have a suggestion, maybe you should call them and ask them.
My suggestion is they have a vendor fair and not make it a specifically women's vendor fair.
So I'll say, Mr. Murdoch, we've heard your perspective on it. We're hearing what your ask is. I'm not making any promises, but we will go back and share your concerns with the rec department and the people who are responsible for putting together that fair.
Okay?
That's all we can do at this point.
Okay. And I found out what I wanted to know, which is that all of you are in favor of a women's vendor fair on town property. That's what I came here to find out. Right?
Okay, so we already talked about highway overlays. Do you want to go on to insurance first?
Insurance,
They lived right across the street from me for a few years.
so liability, in case anybody sues us for something, liability.
I think that's appropriate, next subject.
Primex, our carrier for workers' compensation and property and liability insurance, has offered us another 3-year rate cap. This is their way of trying to lock us in for an extended agreement. We're a member with Primex, we're part of a pool with both of those. And in exchange for that 3-year commitment. They promise not to raise rates more than a certain amount. That's the super basic version. We did this just after joining Primex for property and liability in 2015. We entered a 2-year cap. It was our kind of, just as we came on board, just after we came on board with Primex. We had gone into it, at least on the property and liability side, I think, if I remember the correction, you were there, Donna,
Yeah.
we kind of looked at it as, okay, that's the guaranteed rate increase, you know, when you think about a cap, that's them telling us that they're gonna guarantee the rate increase. It didn't actually happen that way. We came in a little under that, so, this isn't, where we're a member of of the pool, we're sharing in the risks of everybody, and the profits come back to, the savings come back to us as a pool member. This isn't like a cable TV price lock, it's a little different than that, in that we're a member of the pool, so, at any rate, I went through it all and laid out why I think it makes sense for us to do that on the property and liability side, but probably not on the workers' compensation side. And the biggest drivers in that are, on workers' compensation, the real cost to us has, for the last several years, been driven by how the pool does and what kind of kickback we get from that. It's called a contribution holiday or a rebate or whatever. Our upfront gross cost has been remarkably stable, but the pool's performance fluctuates wildly, so the amount we get back and the amount we end up paying has bounced all over the place. The cap only affects that gross number. What is your number before the rebate? That hasn't really moved that much, so I don't think there's much rate protection for us there. We've been with Primex for a long time. No indication that we need to leave, but nor is there any indication we need to lock in for 3 years for that.
Yeah.
The marketplace, it looks like there are some other options out there which we can look at later this year, just to kind of test the market on the workers' comp. When our net cost was $8,000 or $9,000 a year, it's you shop around, what's your savings going to be? It's not that significant. If going forward our net cost is going to be more like 35, which is what it's shaping up to be this year, it makes more sense to put some energy into shopping it around. So we can do that later this year before our January renewal, because it might actually generate some savings, on a $35,000 number. And I suspect if we don't enter the cap, they'd probably come back and offer to us again next year. It's not a big deal. On the property liability side, obviously you run the risk of a major event changing your risk profile dramatically. If you have some humongous claim, that's going to come back and get you eventually.
What was it in 2014 when it went up 34%, do you know?
That was, I think we actually switched vendors in there, and I should have put that in there. I don't remember what happened then, because that was I don't know.
That's okay.
That number keeps climbing. We had a good year in 15, but,
When did we build the new fire station?
Pardon me?
When did we build the new fire station?
That wouldn't have had anything to do with that.
no, it could have.
It would have, premium-wise.
Yeah.
Right,
And what I was thinking is claim-wise.
claim-wise, yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right, but that's, God,
That's
been
2000,
That's a
longer than
long
that.
time.
Has it,
Yeah.
well, I can't remember
Yeah,
how long.
no,
And I was
neither
thinking
can
the highway garage collapse.
Oh, yeah.
Another one, that was a $120,000 loss right there.
Yeah.
But I don't recall that the rates fluctuated drastically after that.
Yeah, that was around the time that the marketplace was collapsing as LGCs, what used to be,
That whole mess.
that whole mess was going on then.
Right.
And our former, Property Liability Trust, PLT, was a piece of the old LGC, which is now the Municipal Association. That was all going on then, and the state pretty much ran the LGC out of the insurance business, for good or evil. I didn't really watch it that closely, but that was going on at the same time. So that may have had something to do with it too. At any rate, the choices out there are really not great for us in this market. There's, we've twice in the last 3 years, we've shopped this around and come back to Primex both times. And I've traded some notes with colleagues in other towns, and they're getting basically the same thing. There's Primex plus maybe one private carrier that that's willing to bid on the business. But one of the dramatic differences between Primex and everything else is that by state law, any municipalities in a risk pool, have a liability cap. There's a dollar amount cap in state law for members of those pools. So if you were to leave the pool, or there's only one pool right now, there used to be two. If you leave the pool and go to a private carrier, your top line liability number goes up, so your insurance profile looks a lot different. So it's not exactly a buyer's market at this point. There's some talk, I think there's somebody else trying to put together another pool.
Yeah, they were at the
There's Davis and
training.
Towel.
Yeah, Davis and Toll with somebody behind them.
Them, yeah. There's another guy that came and said that they're looking at starting it up, but it hasn't.
They're not there yet, right?
They're not there yet, but
Yeah.
he's been going around talking to the towns.
Yeah.
Davis and Toll gave me numbers the year before he retired. So
Yeah.
they were, Chris, I think.
They've been trying to
contacted
get this business for a
Yeah,
long time,
he
and
came
this
to the
is,
meeting on Saturday and
were
announced
at all
that
of them,
Nottingham wasn't on their list.
yeah.
Because he looked at the list of the towns and, I'm like,
Yeah. So it would be great if there was another choice out there in the pool world. I don't see us being an early adopter or a first time, you don't want to be the first one in the pool, right? So I think a rate cap on the property and liability side might make some sense. It's a pretty big number, but we have two things going that are probably going to move our number up that we might be able to cap from happening. One of them is adding the USA Springs to our town property. We assess that at $1 million something now. That's about a 10% increase in our insurable physical property. Second thing is we've just added a full-time police officer, and I've actually in the past at some point had Primex tell me that one of the things they really watch is the head count of full-time police officers as an indication of potential liability. So we've just done both of those things in the last 2 months. Both of those things I would expect to move our number up. If we enter a cap now, we might be able to mitigate that a little bit. That's speculation on my part. There's not anything certain, but since our experience has been that it's not a guaranteed rate increase, but just a cap,
Yep, yep.
I'm not as hesitant about it as I was 2 years ago. I thought, you're just,
Yeah.
you're getting us
Yeah.
to buy into,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So your recommendation at this point is that we move forward on the liability side, but not the workers' compensation side?
yes. And we don't have to make that decision tonight. We can put that off for a couple of weeks if you want to chew on it or go back and look at any of the details, but
Thoughts on that?
did you get any feedback from Tony at all? Do you know if he's looked at this?
I haven't heard from Tony, no.
Do you guys want to noodle it and talk about it next meeting?
I'd like to get Tony's thinking on it too.
Okay.
Good. Easy enough.
All right. That covers everything on the agenda for the public meeting. Is there anything else before we go into non-public that anyone would like to raise? Okay, what are we doing?
L.
L?
Review of legal advice, whatever that's called.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into non-public per RSA 91-A:3-2L.
Second.
Take a roll call.
Aye.
Aye, Tyler Eaton.
I, Charlene Anderson.
Aye, Donna Danus. We will be, since there's no further business on the public agenda after we come out of non-public, we will be adjourning the meeting. Thank you.